This is the D'Lo Show, and I am your host, Ryan D'Lo Delosier. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the D'Lo Show. So glad we can make it back. So glad you're here to listen to this stuff. If you're enjoying it, like, subscribe, follow, tell your neighbors, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, tell anybody who will listen about the D'Lo Show. I enjoy doing these. Here's another case, another unsolved murder from Yakima. This one's called The Truck in the Lower Valley. It's the murder of Stanley Brader. And in this episode right here, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about, as you know, I talk about cold cases, and we often talk about, and I quote, the missing piece. That one witness or that one bit of DNA that changes everything. But in the case we're covering today, there are plenty of pieces. There was a stolen vehicle. There was a burning fire. And there was a crime scene that suggested a struggle involving more than one person. Yeah, there you go. Well, it wouldn't be one person, more than one person who was actually struggling with the individual, with Stanley in this right here. So, yet, 7 years later, the family of Stanley Brader is still waiting for an arrest. And they're still asking why more hasn't been done, as anyone would if a loved one had been murdered in the way that Stanley had been murdered. So today, yes, on this day, we go back to the early morning hours of June 4th, 2017, to a quiet property out in West Valley. That's right, out in West Valley where it's safe, right? Safe, sound. People move to West Valley. In fact, if you live in Yakima, you would know this. Houses typically are more expensive out in West Valley because it is considered, and I quote, safe. When we bought our house, they actually said, people, you shouldn't buy one west of, or east, excuse me, of 16th Avenue. And this happened out past 72nd Avenue. So it's quite a ways out there, just because of the way they say, whatever the realtor says doesn't necessarily mean that you are probably in a little safer area of town. I'm not going to lie to you there. So Stanley Brader, he was 59 years old, and he was a graduate of East Valley High School. Now, East Valley High School out there on the east side, a pretty good little area as well too. It's actually, if you want to know a little bit about your podcast host right here, he was born in he graduated from East Valley High School. Stanley Brader was a father, a grandfather, and a man who loved the simple peace that went along with fishing and golfing. He lived alone at his home on the 1600 block of South 72nd Avenue. The investigation didn't actually start at the house. This investigation into the murder, it started miles and miles away in the lower valley of Yakima. Yes, in the town south of Yakima, they used to have a place down there called Frank Chevrolet, and they said they were 10 minutes from anywhere. That was kind of their advertisement. Now the place has been torn down. I don't even know what's there anymore. But yeah, it used to be a car dealership. They sold Chevrolets, GM cars, and stuff like that. But their motto was that they were 10 minutes from anywhere. So 10 minutes south of Yakima, basically, is the town of Wapato. So Wapato police are involved here, and they discovered a truck that had been intentionally set on fire. Now, this was a regular thing that would happen. People would steal a truck, take it out to Wapato, and just burn it. They go for a joyride, they'd burn it up out there. Sometimes they just crash them out there, or they just dump them out there. So this one was actually set on fire. And when Yakima PD ran the plates, they saw that this particular truck belonged to Stan Brader. And thinking they were dealing with a stolen vehicle and a potential arson, because this happens a lot down there. How do I know? Well, my dad used to own an auto repair business down there, and we would get these trucks that came in after they had been stolen, and we would rebuild the steering columns on them with the parts. And he actually knew which parts were being broken. It was kind of an epidemic down there in that area. So they were thinking they were dealing with a stolen vehicle and a potential arson. So officers headed to Stan's house to perform a welfare check just to see, hey, is this guy okay? He had his vehicle stolen. Why did they burn it? Things like that. They expected to find a man who had just lost his truck. His truck had been stolen. They were just kind of expecting that they were going to inform him that, but instead they found a nightmare. So when the police rolled up on this house, they found Stan outside. So Stan was outside on his own property near a fence along his driveway. And this was after the stolen vehicle, after it had been burned. So the scene was quite disturbing. According to the Yakima County coroner's 2017 summary, Stan's body had been bound with an electrical cord. He had been struck multiple times in the head and the shoulder with such force that it caused direct and indirect brain injury. Yes, both direct injury from the impact and then indirect, which happens a little bit later right there. He also suffered a deep laceration to his thigh. The autopsy was clear. The cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. The interval of death was just minutes. It didn't take long when this happened, when the attack came about. It didn't take long for death to occur. This wasn't a random accident, and the police don't believe it was a random act of violence either. Early in the investigation, Mike Bastinelli of the Yakima Police Department stated they believe the crime was targeted and that multiple people were involved in the criminal activity that led to the death of Stanley Brader. So if you think about that, multiple people are on this property that belongs to Stanley Brader. Multiple people were in that truck. That truck that they found burning out in Wapato, probably out in West Wapato, out there, that had been stolen, that had been broken into, and that had been set on fire. Someone drove that particular truck, and it wasn't Stanley, from West Valley down to Wapato. And someone stood there and they lit that truck on fire, and they possibly even watched it burn to make sure that the flames would take. Despite these leads that went along with this, knowing all of these things, multiple people at the site, Stanley's there, a lot of people driving that truck down to the lower valley, the case went cold, even with all those leads. And for Stan's family, the silence from the department over the years has been deafening. So on social media, his siblings and his classmates, they have shared their heartbreak. And one of Stan's brothers wrote, "It seems like they never cared who the monster was that did this. I don't even know how they sleep at night," referring to those investigating the case. The family feels like Stan was forgotten, but detectives Kevin Kays and the Cold Case Unit of Yakima, the one I've been referring to through several of these podcast cases that I've been covering. Yeah, that Cold Case Unit that's gone back, that consists of some detectives, but also includes a judge that are going back and looking at these old cases with some new, fresh eyes, kind of looking for evidence, but also using some of our modern technology to go along and try to solve those. Yeah, those ones right there. They are operating under a firm belief that someone in the lower valley saw that truck when it was stolen and was going down there. Someone saw who got out of it before the matches were lit. As we continue on right here in our story going along with this, the YPD Major Crimes Unit that here in Yakima has a 68% clearance rate, which does happen to be higher than the national average. But for the Brader family, that statistic doesn't mean anything as long as Stan's dot on the map remains that big dot, which is the unsolved dot. So we're looking for information regarding a white 59-year-old male murdered on June 4th, 2017. If you were in the Wapato area that morning, happened to be June 4th, and think back, where were you at June 4th, 2017? If you heard someone talk about a quote job in West Valley that went too far, it is time to speak up. Well, maybe the job was to steal the truck, and then it just went beyond that. So I don't know. I have no idea, but you can check this out. The family has put together a Facebook page. You can check that out as well too. Look up Stanley Brader on there, and they have a memorial site to him with some information as well. You can contact if you know any of this information. If you have stuff to say, you can call YPD, their cold case team directly, or You, as I mentioned before, can remain completely anonymous by calling Crime Stoppers, and their phone number, I like to give that to you as well, is 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-TIPS. Stan Brader was referred to as a super nice guy, according to his friends. He was a brother who was missed every single day. Let's help his family get the justice they've been praying for. I want to thank you for listening to this show and joining me on here and enjoying this and joining me as I go through this stuff. I enjoy doing it. Hopefully you enjoy listening to it. If you've stuck around this long, just kind of go through a few additional things that are going along with this case as well too. So while investigating this case, a few extra details and context points that are along with this right here. So Lower Valley, as you may or may not know, where if you were to take a look at a map and you look at the 1600 block of 72nd Avenue, and then Wapato, where it's at, it's about 15 to 20 miles from where they found, from where the truck was at, and then to where it was dumped and lit on fire later right there. So it's quite a little ways. It's a pretty easy route though. I've done this one before several times. I mean, there's a good road. You could take a Tandem, you could take Washington. Those are towns that are the roads that head east through Yakima, and they hit the freeway, which takes you right down. If you head south, you're going to hit Wapato right away if you head down Highway 97. So the fact that the perpetrators chose to dump the truck there suggests that they may have had ties to that Lower Valley area, or they felt they could just disappear more easily. I mean, that's the heading down Washington, heading down a Tandem. Those are pretty quick, not a lot of lights, not a lot going on. There's even areas there where you can get over the hill, but it's a native reservation as well through there too. So you to be able to drive on those roads, you need to be a Yakima native. So there was a targeted nature of this. So the blunt force, the trauma that came along with the murder and how Stanley was murdered, in blunt force cases involving the binding of the electrical cord as well too, investigators will often look at the overkill, which definitely happened right here. Death was within minutes, but they just kept, like, there was laceration on his thigh, things like that. That when there was direct injuries to the brain, but then also indirect injuries as well. So hitting him with the stick directly, but then falling and hitting the ground as well. Beyond that, it suggests that the killers wanted something from him, or they held a specific grudge, or rather than just a quick, let's go steal this truck and get out of here robbery. The class of 1976 was Stan's class at East Valley High School, and that's the year I was born. So a few years later, I went there in high school. Stan's classmates from East Valley High, they've been very active trying to keep his memory alive on social media as well too, but also the memorial site to him as well. You can go and check that out if you want to reach out and just say something else to Stan, regarding Stan as well. Just let them know that you're concerned about him, or that you just are sorry this happened. Now, that's a good place to kind of connect with some people as well too. So reaching out to that specific alumni group might uncover some people who knew his social circle as well at the time of death. So if you know that as well, and then just as I mentioned earlier, some of the things that have just changed since 2017. So DNA technology, it doesn't seem like that long ago, at least in my mind. 2017 doesn't seem that long ago. I guess when you're a little bit older, that time winds up a little bit and times go by pretty quick. But the touch DNA technology and the digital forensics, so the tracking of like cell tower pings and stuff like pings and stuff like that near the burn site, have improved. So, but the problem is, I don't believe the cell companies keep track of that stuff. So the cold case unit, though, has been re-examining those, and the electrical cord, which was used to bind Stanley Brader, probably has some DNA on it as well too. But DNA is everywhere. We leave it everywhere. They can keep they can get a DNA profile. I've heard one of the podcasts I like to listen to. I kind of wanted to go over that too as well too, just some of the podcasts I hit. But Jen Coffindaffer, she has a Break the Case podcast, and she said you can now get a DNA profile off the tip of a pen. So DNA technology is really good right now. So those are just some things that we get these forensic advancements. The problem is they just take time to uncover those things. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that I did want to cover was that I wanted to go over some of the podcasts that I do or that I listen to. The reason I got into this was because I enjoy podcasts. I enjoy listening to them, but just looking at my stream right here, I've got True Crime Today. There's a good one right there to listen to. What else do I have on my stream right here? I'll listen to Chasing Life sometimes with Dr. Sanjay Gupta. I have Against the Odds. I have if you the one I like, so Disgraceland, and the guy's name, I don't know. I always kind of liked is Jake Brennan. So he does several different types of podcasts, and these are kind of, in the area of Hollywood is where they're from. So Disgraceland is he has one that's called Hollywoodland. He has a lot of he one of the ones I really enjoyed was a 27 Club. So it goes over people who died when they're 27, and it covers a lot of just different people who did not make it past their 27th birthday. So if you're not like Jim Morrison, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them on there, and that's a good one to check out as well too. Other podcasts that I listen to as I go through, I hit the History Daily one. There's the DT show, Drunk Turkey. That was one that I listened to quite a bit. He had good content when the Idaho 4 case was going on. He was posting stuff all the time, and I have a feeling he's in a similar situation now. That was kind of what got me going too, was the Idaho case and the Idaho 4. I really enjoyed it, and then the guy the murderer in that case. Don't really want to mention his name, but the murderer in that case, he confess to doing it. So it kind of took away a lot of the trial that we were all expecting to be able to see. And so another one, Jen Coffindaffer. It's called Break the Case with Jen Coffindaffer. She does a lot of good stuff. Again, she's a former FBI agent, so she's got a lot of information. Police off the cuff. Those guys are New York, city of New York. Um, Former police officers. Law and Crime Fix with Angelette Levy. She does a good job. Hey, look, the D'Lo Show. They cover stuff as well, too. So just a lot of these I like to listen to. Drop Dead Serious with Ashley Banfield. That's another one of the regular ones that pop up on mine. So those are just a few to check out in between my podcasts. I mean, I don't want you to leave it, but that's kind of what got me going in that direction of wanting to do a podcast and just enjoying this. And those people, I thought I've got a microphone and I've got a MacBook right here, and I can go through and talk to you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Thank you for sticking around this long and hanging on till the end right here. Hope you have a great day. And if you want to check out any of the things that I do as well. So as far as if you want to reach out to me on the socials, I have a few of them right here. I need to look up and see what they are. So for my social medias, I'm the D'Lo Show on Facebook and Instagram as well too. Those are ones that I cover right there. If I take a look at some of the things that I have, I'm on the platform that I use to post my podcast is on Spotify. So the things that I have there, if you're looking for me, I'm on all of them. I mean, my favorite is to go through right when I listen to podcasts, they come through Apple. So I think that's a great one to check out as well too. But I'm on everything else. I'm on Amazon, and a lot of those is Amazon. I'm on iHeart. I'm on that one as well. So those are places you can find me in when I'm doing my podcasts. Other things that I have as well too. I'm on social media. Like I know I mentioned that before too. I have some YouTubes that I don't really check that one out. But yeah, you can find me on Spotify. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, and through Facebook and Instagram, those are the ones I do check once in a while to see if I have any messages right there. So if you want to just post something on there, you can just like, subscribe, follow, and I'll keep you up to date on stuff that happens. And just remember to follow, like, or however you do that in a podcast so that I show up in your feed when new episodes drop. Trying to do that every Monday. So thank you once again for listening, and I hope that you have an awesome day.